Hello, welcome to Word for the Week for Mount Pleasant Baptist Church. My name is Andrea Smith and I'm one of the elders at the church. And the talks that I'm giving, the short talks that I'm giving, are based on women in the Bible, both the Old Testament and the New Testament, and what we can learn from them. And today I wanted to think about the story of Rebecca, found in chapters 24 to 27 in Genesis. And it's actually a very sobering portrait. And it's been said, hasn't it? It's not how you start, but how you finish in life that's so important. And so, as I say, this is quite a sobering portrait of the story of Rebecca. And we have to go back to Genesis, and we know that Abraham feels it's time to find a wife for his son Isaac. And it's very important to him that his daughter-in-law should come from his own clan rather than the people where God had moved him to. So he says to his chief servant to go back to the land of his family and to find a suitable wife for his son Isaac. And he says to him that he will send an angel will go ahead and will guide him. And when the chief servant finds a woman, a young girl, who not only will give water to the chief servant, but also to his camels, then he will know that she is the one. And if that doesn't happen, then he'll be released from that task that he's been given. So sure enough, the chief servant goes and he takes with him 10 camels, and he comes to the time when the women are coming out to gather the water from the well, and sure enough, a lovely, beautiful young woman comes out, and he asks whether she would please bring him some water to refresh him. And she says, certainly, and let me also refresh your camels. I did a bit of research on camels, and a camel can drink up to 200 litres, that's 53 gallons of water, in 3 minutes. If you think there were 10 camels, and she very graciously offers to tend to the camels as well as him. So it shows us here that she was not just a beautiful woman on the outside, but a very caring and kind. And I think had a servant's heart from the beginning. And we go on to read in the story that she accepts the marriage offer to go back with this chief servant and to marry Isaac. And so far, so good. However, sadly for her, it was a good 20 years before she was able to have children. We're told that Isaac prays for her, and the Lord just blessed her eventually with children. But in that culture, of course, there'd have been tremendous, apart from the normal heartache that a woman would face, but tremendous sense of failure and tremendous shame within that time. But thankfully for her, God blesses her with children. However, things don't stay all that good, because not long after that we read there's a famine, and just like his father Abraham, when he felt there was a danger, and he said that his wife Sarah was not his wife, but she was his sister, this is what Isaac does with Rebecca, because they're in a sense of danger. And I don't know about you, but I just think here it feels like the cracks are beginning to show in the marriage, because surely she would have felt very vulnerable, no longer protected by marriage by her husband and the status that would have given. During the pregnancy, we know that she has twins. I think probably quite a tricky pregnancy, and God gives her this prophecy that the younger will serve the older, which is by no means normal. The children are born, and unfortunately, both Isaac and Rebecca very distinctly favour one son over the other. So for Isaac, his son Esau, the firstborn, was very significant to him. And for Rebekah, she favoured Jacob, and this caused tremendous conflict within the family. We see later on when she hears that as Isaac's getting older, he's about to give the very important blessing to his eldest son, Esau. And so what Rebekah does is she manipulates the situation. And we're told, of course, that Jacob is, covered with animal skins to make him smell and to feel like his brother Esau. They bring this amazing meal for him. And Isaac, in his failing eyesight, is deceived and gives the blessing, the very significant blessings, the firstborn, to his younger son. And so in this way, I think Rebekah kind of manipulates the situation to bring that prophecy to being. And then, of course, we're told once Esau comes back from out hunting to bring the special meal to his father before the blessing, he discovers what's happened and is absolutely furious, not surprisingly. And again, Rebekah steps in, she manipulates the situation and says to her husband, really, Jacob should go back to my family, to my brother Laban, to choose a wife. So Jacob is very quickly sent away, and she says to him, I will call you back when all is safe and well, because she knew her son Jacob's life was at risk from his brother. But we're not told that she ever sees her son again. It will be a good 20 years before Jacob comes back, and God wonderfully restores that situation between the two brothers through forgiveness and his grace. But we're not told again that Rebekah ever sees her beloved son Jacob. So if we think about this story, we think about how this very beautiful woman, from the outside and the inside, how by the end of her life, it's a very different story. She starts off, doesn't she, with a lovely open spirit, happily married to Isaac, and then through life's disappointments, through infertility, probably difficult pregnancy, perhaps disappointment in her husband maybe, for leaving her very vulnerable at a tricky time, and then the favouring of the two boys by each parent, and then failure just to trust God's prophecy, and so she intervenes with dire consequences for herself and for the family. And so we're left at the end. She's left living, I think, probably quite lonely and in a very dysfunctional family situation. And it reminded me of those words in Proverbs 4 that says this: above all else, guard your heart, for it is the wellspring of life. And if we allow our hearts to be full of bitterness, distrust, greed, ambition, and all other things, it will distort everything, and the consequences can be dire for ourselves and for other people. So may we keep close to God and keep our hearts pure and soft and in step with Him, so that we finish our lives still walking closely with Him with loving and obedient hearts. Amen.